Final Fantasy VIII has always felt different. Not just because of the music, or the atmosphere, or the combat flexibilities, or even the iconic love story. It's because Final Fantasy VIII, to me, explores something deeper. If destiny cannot be changed, do the choices we make even matter? My name's Amrit Birdi, Times-bestselling illustrator and writer. I've been working in the creative industries for 15 years across films, games, and publishing. And today I'm going to talk about my favorite game of all time, Final Fantasy VIII. Its themes of fate, memory, time loops, and why Squall and Rinoa's story still hits like a punch to the soul. Final Fantasy VIII unfolds as though the conclusion already exists, shaping events long before the characters themselves have even become aware of it. From the opening moments, the player is presented not with a prophecy or destiny explicitly stated, but with an emotional aftermath we're not yet aware of. Squall begins his story withdrawn, isolated, and resistant to connection. He's a competent, disciplined, capable soldier, yet fundamentally disengaged. And as the narrative develops, these traits reveal themselves as consequences rather than personality quirks. Squall's detachment stems from childhood abandonment, compounded by memory erosion linked to the use of guardian forces. His emotional distance isn't consciously chose, but rather a condition formed before he had the capacity to choose otherwise. His present behavior is already the result of the past he cannot fully remember. This pattern, consequence preceding awareness, reoccurs throughout the game. Meaning in Final Fantasy VIII is revealed retroactively rather than retrospectively. The orphanage revelation does not direct the story forward, it reframes everything that has already occurred. Themes once understood as spontaneous or coincidental are now revealed to have been necessary steps within a closed causal loop. The characters do not gain new freedom from this knowledge, they gain belated understanding. From early on, Final Fantasy VIII positions us, the player, as someone uncovering a path that has already been walked. This framing gives rise to the game's central philosophical question. If destiny cannot be changed, do the choices we make still matter? Final Fantasy VIII is not personified by a god, prophecy, or a singular antagonist. It does not announce itself with spectacle or moral absolutism. Instead, it is embedded persistently in the systems that govern the world. Sorcerer's power is inherited rather than chosen. Adia becomes a sorceress without consent. Rinoa later inherits the same power through circumstances rather than intention. Neither actively seeks the role and neither is given the option to refuse it. The position persists across generations, indifferent to individual desire, binding each successor into a historical chain they did not initiate. Guardian forces operate under similar logic. They grant extraordinary power, but exact a cost that is neither immediate nor dramatic: memory. The more the characters rely on these forces, the less access they retain to their own pasts. Identity becomes fragmented, shaped by necessity rather than continuity. Characters quite literally sacrifice self-knowledge in order to function within the world. Again, the orphanage revelation crystallizes this worldview. The characters discover that their lives are bound by a temporal loop. Future actions influence past events, which then, in turn, shaped the present. There is no clear point of origin, no moment where the loop could have been broken cleanly. Fate in Final Fantasy VIII is not something imposed from the outside. It's the framework within which existence unfolds. Although the player exercises significant agency at the mechanical level, junction systems, combat strategies, character optimization, narrative choice is tightly constrained. Squall does not choose his emotional detachment, it is a product of his early loss and suppressed memory. Rinoa does not seek sorcerer's power, it is thrust upon her through proximity and circumstance. Even Seed itself is structured to recruit children into military roles they barely understand, reinforcing cycles of duty rather than self-determination. The assassination mission against Adia illustrates this constraint with particular clarity. Squall believes he is acting decisively, participating in a plan designed to stop looming threat. Only later does he learn that Adia herself, influenced by future events, enabled the very mission meant to oppose her. What appeared to be choice is revealed to be maintenance of the timeline. The outcome is fixed, unchangeable. And so it could be said that choice exists, but only within the boundaries that do not permit deviation from fate's structure. The game repeatedly presents decisions that feel meaningful in the moment, only to later reveal that their significance lay not in altering events, but in sustaining the world as it already is. Where Final Fantasy VIII most clearly preserves the relevance of choice is not in altering events, but choices driven by emotion. The game repeatedly places characters in situations where outcomes are already constrained, yet foregrounds the decision of how they respond internally. These choices do not change fate, but they determine whether characters participate fully in their lives or retreat from them. Early in the narrative, Squall treats emotional distance as a survival strategy. He follows orders efficiently, fulfills his role as Seed, and later accepts the position of commander with minimal resistance, but also with minimal investment. Leadership is treated as obligation rather than connection. Another role imposed upon him rather than something he actively embraces. This detachment is not framed as strength or stoicism. Instead, it isolates Squall from meaning. He functions effectively but without orientation towards anything beyond duty. A significant shift occurs when Rinoa falls into a coma after being possessed by Ultimecia. Squall cannot fix her condition, undo her involvement, or halt the larger forces at work. He is confronted with the limits of his actions in stark terms. What he can later choose is whether to disengage emotionally or remain present. His decision to stay with Rinoa, to watch over her, to speak to her, and refuse emotional withdrawal despite her unresponsiveness presents a choice made in the absence of agency over outcome. Nothing about the plot changes. Rinoa remains unconscious. Time continues forward. What changes is Squall's relationship to inevitability. This shift is reinforced during the space rescue sequence. Rinoa is drifting away, oxygen is limited, and the physical constraints of space impose strict boundaries. Squall's pursuit is a huge turning point for his character, an absolute refusal to remain detached from it any longer. The attempt itself carries meaning regardless of success. Squall does not change what is happening, he changes how he participates in what is happening. And within a deterministic world, emotional commitment becomes the primary form of agency available. Within the rigid structure of fate, love emerges as the only element not governed by inheritance or time. Love does not exist in Final Fantasy VIII as a force that alters history. Time compression still occurs, memory still fades, separation remains unavoidable. The game is explicit about this. No romantic connection prevents catastrophe or guarantees permanence. What love changes is experience. Rinoa consistently chooses emotional presence. He encourages connection, refuses withdrawal, and remains engaged even when she herself has become the source of danger due to her sorceress powers. A willingness to remain open does not resolve the larger conflict, but it resists the emotional erasure. And in turn, Squall chooses involvement over isolation, despite knowing that that attachment does not protect against loss, these choices do not alter destiny, but they reshape the internal landscape through which destiny is encountered. Love introduces variability into the meaning of the situation, but not the outcome. Two characters may face the same destiny, but they do not experience it in the same way. So, why choose love? Within this framework, Final Fantasy VIII offers a restrained answer. Choosing love is not salvation. Choosing love does not break fate. Choosing love does not guarantee permanence. Instead, choosing love provides significance. It gives texture to moments that would otherwise collapse into inevitability. It allows recognition across memory, loss, distance, and time, even when continuity cannot be assured. Love functions as the medium through which choice retains meaning in a world where outcomes are fixed. And if destiny cannot be changed, love explains why emotional engagement still matters. Final thoughts. Does choice still matter? Final Fantasy VIII offers a careful, unsentimental conclusion. Choice does not matter because it can change destiny. It matters because it determines how destiny is lived. Characters cannot choose their endings, but they can choose whether to remain emotionally present as they approach them. In a universe where the future already exists, freedom is found in choosing to participate in a meaningful way. Basically, the journey is more important than the destination. Final Fantasy VIII ultimately suggests that if destiny cannot be changed, choice does still matter, not because it saves the world, but because it ensures the path toward the inevitable is not a lonely one. And that's it for this analysis. If you liked my take, a like and subscribe would genuinely mean a lot, especially because this channel is brand new. And it will definitely be worth it because I'll be sharing many more story and philosophical breakdowns in the weeks, months, and years to come. Hope to see you at the next one.